Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our second session during America Saves Week entitled Saving for the Unexpected. F&O will be having one session each day to help provide you with tips on how to save. My name is Tobias Guy of the F&M marketing team, and we have plenty of information packed into the next hour to help you prepare to save for the unexpected. Now, before we begin, I'd like to know if you have any questions, let you know that if you have any questions, please click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and type in your questions. Cheryl will answer them at the end of the session. And speaking of Cheryl, your presenter today is Cheryl Ryman, who is F&M Bank's Community Reinvestment Officer. Cheryl grew up locally here in Long Beach and attended Long Beach Poly High School and Long Beach City College. And Cheryl's been with us here at F&M Bank for over 35 years. When she's not working, Cheryl enjoys traveling, and her goal is to visit each of the U.S. national parks. And with that, Cheryl, I'd love to hand it back over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Toby. I appreciate that. And thank you everyone for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you with us. As you can see, we're working with America Saves. And during America Saves Week, we are addressing a number of different topics related specifically to savings. Now, America Saves is a nonprofit program of the Consumer Federation of America. Sounds pretty fancy, huh? And their mission is to increase the financial confidence and stability of all Americans, especially the most vulnerable. Recognizing unique experiences and challenges, America Saves and F&M Bank's commitment goes beyond financial literacy and education and focuses on sharing deeply resonating content, resources, tools, and strategies that move our savers to action. These actions include mindset shifts, identifying savings goals, establishing savings for various opportunities, reducing debt, making changes to how spending and saving affect our lifetime, and more. So we're really happy to be with you today and have you with us as we go through the topic today of saving for the unexpected. On the next slide. So during America Saves Week in 2019, which I know that was a few years ago, but I think it still is important to note that thousands of Americans who committed to themselves, the America Saves Pledge, which we're going to talk about later, is just a commitment to yourself, kind of a reminder. If we put plans into writing, we're much more likely to be successful in achieving those goals. So with the America Saves Week in 2019, thousands of America committed to save, and they saved $145 million through the America Saves Pledge. Now, when we talk about the America Saves Pledge, like I mentioned, that's just a promise, a commitment to yourself that you're saving with the America Saves platform, who then can help you navigate through the different areas of your finances to better position you for success in savings. So like I said, we're happy to have you today as we go through America Saves Week, and we share tools and resources, hopefully to inspire individuals and families to save successfully and achieve better financial stability. Here you will see our webinar schedule for this week in support of America Saves Week. Yesterday, we talked about saving automatically, and that would be through direct deposits and also automatic transfers with online banking or mobile banking. Today, we will talk about saving for the unexpected, having that emergency fund. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll talk about saving for the major milestones. Thursday, paying down debt is saving. And then Friday, we'll talk about saving at any age. It's never too soon, nor is it ever too late to start saving. So let's get to it. Today, we will talk about saving for the unexpected. Well, I think we could all agree that if there's one thing we can expect, it is unexpected and inconvenient surprises. And sometimes those can be expensive. Nearly a quarter of savers who take the American Saves Pledge choose emergency savings as their first wealth building goal. So when you take the America Saves Pledge, there's a couple of different categories that you can identify as your goal for savings. And emergency savings is the most common. And they have the right idea. Research shows that low-income families with at least $500 in an emergency fund were better off than more financially affluent families with less than this amount. Yet most Americans don't have enough money to cover an unexpected emergency. One of the things that we spoke about yesterday was when we were talking about saving automatically, and as we earn more, we spend more, and keeping up with the Joneses, and how even though somebody may earn more money, they may actually be more broke than someone who earns less money, because the tendency is the more you earn, the more you spend. So they might have a lot of items to show, maybe the house, the car, the clothes, but they have no savings. Maybe they're more in debt than somebody with less income. So managing your savings, particularly to respond to unexpected events, is really very, very important. And we hear things, we hear the common phrases and terms. And my guess is that you have heard that saving for life's unexpected events is very important. And it is absolutely a necessary part of being financially prepared. You've probably heard a lot, and you're going to hear it even more this week because savings is important. Often this phrase comes with a recommendation that you have enough in your emergency savings account to cover expenses for 3 to 6 months. Now that's ideal, and we do certainly understand that that can be overwhelming when you're planning on saving, but little by little will get you there. So instead of focusing on what you haven't accomplished, let's talk about a few strategies that you can put into play that will help you build your financial confidence and begin or continue on your path to saving for the unexpected. So why bother? Why save for unexpected expenses? Well, like we said, because life happens. It does. Things happen. The unexpected events occur, and they often require money, and sometimes a lot of money. And when we are faced with situations like this, people often find ourselves desperate for money. An emergency savings fund of at least $500 can help. This is money that is specifically set aside to cover those unexpected expenses. It means keeping it separate from money that you plan to spend in the short term that you might have in your wallet or in a checking account. Saving for the unexpected could start with small, regularly scheduled automatic contributions that build up over time. So what do you think? And if you would, put into the Q&A or the chat box some of your ideas of what are those unexpected events that require money. What do you think? You're like, uh-oh, something happened and I need to come up with money that I didn't plan on having to spend. And there's a few ideas up here already. Vehicle repairs. Oh my gosh. Now we know that even just having a vehicle in itself can be expensive, right? You've got your car payments, you've got your insurance, you've got the cost of fuel, maintenance. Gosh, seems like even a simple oil change can cost a lot these days. But then what if it's something more than that? Oh, you need to replace your brakes. What if you're having transmission problems? Oh my gosh, and not to mention the cost of tires. How much more could that possibly cost? A roof leak. Yes, managing your home, absolutely. With a vehicle accident, or a medical event, it may not just be the cost of the event itself, the cost of the vehicle accident, you have to pay a deductible, or the cost of repairs. But then what happens if you're unable to work because of an accident? And with vehicle repairs and vehicle accidents, we rely on our vehicles to get us to and from work. Would you still be able to easily get to and from work without your vehicle? Oh, and then family. Has anyone had to help a family member out in an emergency? Some people are less inclined to be helpful, and some people are much more inclined to be helpful. But as you can see, there are lots of different types of activities and events that may be unexpected, that demand, that require us to spend money that we didn't have. On the next slide then, having that savings account, having that emergency fund helps you avoid creating new debt. Not having an emergency savings is one of the reasons many individuals borrow too much money or resort to high-cost loans like the payday lenders or increase credit card balances to high levels. Now, you may have heard that an emergency savings fund should take 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses, and that's a big goal, and it may seem impossible to reach. But savings takes time and commitment. It's still worth doing. It's a habit. It's a cycle. And even building the small emergency fund can be helpful. Remember that as a cycle, if you have the savings fund, the emergency fund, and you use it, you just keep building it back up again. And having that emergency fund is one of the most important steps you can take to improve your financial health and stability so that you can avoid going further into debt or creating debt in order to respond to that emergency. It also gives you peace of mind, knowing that you can afford to pay for unexpected events should they arise. So we did speak a little bit yesterday about budgets, your spending and savings plan. We've said it before, and we will likely say it again and again and again. Before you can figure out, how much you can save, how much, and if you can, you'll need to get a clear picture of your overall finances. And that can be a little disarming, a little overwhelming, a little frightening to really put it down on paper, but it's necessary. Absolutely. You need to know your full financial picture so that you know if you're capable of saving, and if you are, how much. So establishing that spending and savings plan, which is also known as budgeting, is a very important step in gaining control over your finances. But it's also really important to create a budget that you can actually stick to. There is no one-size-fits-all budget. Everyone's circumstances and situations are different, as are our wants and needs. Now, we can talk an entire hour just about budgeting, but today is about saving for the unexpected. If you're interested in a budgeting workshop, please make a note in the comment section, and we will certainly keep that in mind as we schedule additional webinars in the future. Now, one thing that I do want to share with you, and let me see if I can copy and paste this into, copy and paste this into, let's see, can I get that to go to everyone? There are some resources available when we're talking about establishing a spending and savings plan. There are lots of resources available on the internet. I think that that's one of the wonderful, spectacular, fabulous things about the internet is the access to information. But I do caution you that when you are looking for information on the internet, that you consider your sources. So The americasaves.org is a fabulous resource. There is a lot of information about saving, about budgeting. Also, the consumer.gov is actually the Federal Trade Commission. So the Federal Trade Commission, FTC.gov, has a lot of great information, not just about budgeting and saving, but also about a lot of other consumer protection rules and laws and credit. I'm a big fan of talking about credit, but again, we don't have the time or the resources to cover that today. But again, please watch our webinar, our event schedule, because we do periodically have 1-hour programs about credit reports and credit scores. Now, when we talk about budgeting, spending and savings plans, personally, I'm a bit of a nerd and I have a spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet with a row for each monthly and annual expense with columns for each month, which as I complete that, it helps me identify year over year seasonal changes in my expenses so that I can better prepare and monitor. Then on the next slide, in anticipating changes to income and expenses, what do you think are some examples of how your income might change? What do you think? Good or bad? How does income change? Well, how about getting a lump sum of money that maybe you expected? How about a tax refund? How about getting a lump sum of money that you did not expect, such as a gift, inheritance? Do you know anybody that's won the lottery? I, surprisingly enough, know 2 people who have won some nice lumps of funds in a lottery. How about getting a new job with higher pay, or getting a second or even a third job? Well, what about the opposite effect? What about losing hours at work or losing a job or getting sick or injured and not being able to work? You may also have bills that come only once or maybe a few times a year, such as auto insurance. Now, a lot of people do pay monthly for their auto insurance, but there are many people also who pay their automobile, their car insurance quarterly or semi-annually, or maybe even once a year. And what about car registration? That's once a year. And what if you have different membership or different certification licenses that you renew once a year? Professional certifications, also property taxes. Not everyone, if you're a homeowner or if you own real estate of any kind, oftentimes the property taxes and insurance are built into your monthly payment. They're impounded, but not everyone does that. So you may have property taxes that you have to plan for. If you're self-employed, self-employment taxes, and even school tuition, a periodic expense. So then what happens if your expenses increase temporarily? I mean, I think that we all have those periods of time that you seem to spend more money during the year. For example, back to school shopping, clothes, shoes, haircuts, school supplies. Then we have holidays, cultural celebrations, weddings, birthdays, maybe some summer related expenses where you have to pay more for childcare or summer activities. Something breaks and needs to be repaired, like the roof leak. Okay? If you're a homeowner, there is usually always something that needs to be fixed or improved. But that list goes on and on and on. On the next slide, then, we'll see when we first think about savings, it can absolutely seem overwhelming. But to avoid that overwhelm, start small. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and we'll keep talking about it. Once you're able to manage your spending and pay your bills on time, you'll want to start building that emergency savings. Ideally, your goal will be to cover your essential expenses for 3 to 6 months, but don't be intimidated by that figure. It's okay just to start. Just start a few dollars going into savings periodically. You set that schedule, whether you want to do $5 a week, $5 a payday, $5 a month. Just start building that habit. Even a few dollars saved each payday will make a difference over time. Whether you split your direct deposit, with most of that going into your primary checking account and a few dollars going to your savings, or whether you do that with automatic transfer through your bank account, treating it like a bill. And after a few months, you'll start to see that progress. You'll see yourself on the path to changing your financial situation. On the next slide then. Excuse me. I think one of the really critical points, and this was something that I struggled with personally, thinking that I could just keep all of my money in the same place and I'd be okay with that. And I wasn't. If I kept all of my money in my checking account, somehow that made its way into my spending plan, not necessarily my savings plan. So absolutely, I think I agree that it is best to keep your savings, especially your emergency savings, separate. A separate savings account. I'm reluctant to encourage anyone to keep cash at home, simply because in the event of a disaster of some sort, or it gets lost, it gets stolen, I strongly encourage the use of a savings account as being the right place to keep your emergency fund, and to keep it separate from your general household funds, even if you do have it in a bank account. Savings accounts offer easy access to your money, easier than certificates of deposits or savings bonds or mutual funds. Excuse me. Though these are useful tools for long-term savings, they're not ideal for emergency funds that you may need access to more quickly, but not too quickly, right? Keeping your money in a savings account makes it a little less likely that you will use these savings to pay for everyday non-emergency expenses. For me, out of sight is out of mind. I don't think about it that often, so I'm not enticed to use it. And then you can identify, it's easier to identify when it's in that separate savings account. You can watch it build little by little, and then you maybe are a little more inclined to add a little more. Maybe you start with doing $5 a week or $5 a payday. Consistently, remember that consistency is key. You want to build a habit of savings, even if it is little by little. But then maybe you realize, okay, I'm doing $5, but I could do 10. And you become motivated to put aside a little bit more. So remember that consistency is key, even if it is just a small amount. And when you're looking for a savings account, we absolutely encourage you to shop around. Now, we would love you to shop at Farmers Merchants Bank for a savings account, and we do have a variety of different types of savings accounts, but absolutely shop around. Some, but not all accounts come with fees, whether that's a minimum balance fee, whether it's a quarterly fee, whatever it might be. Make sure that you understand any fees that might be related to an account that you're looking at. And don't hesitate to ask questions. When you are shopping for financial services, you need to understand what it is that you're getting from that institution, what you're getting from that bank, and what they expect from you. And we are happy to help answer those types of questions for you All you have to do is just let us know. Now, when we're talking about, we had mentioned earlier about those unexpected sources of income. Oh, if only, if only, if only, right? We could win the lottery. Well, not just the lottery, but there may be some other opportunities throughout our life that we come across some unexpected income. Make sure that you use those income spikes to boost your savings. It's interesting. I think America Saves, particularly throughout the tax season, is very, very active. I know that we partner with some nonprofits that have volunteer income tax assistance, where we have volunteers that prepare the income tax for low-income households. And with that, often there is an America Saves program that is sharing information on getting people focused on saving and starting with their tax return. Do you really need, and who am I to say whether it's a want or a need, but do you really need an 80-inch television when the 60-inch you currently have is perfectly acceptable? And just because you can doesn't mean you have to, right? But recognizing your wants and your needs. But when you have an opportunity to save, maybe you should give a little more consideration to that. So make use of any unexpected spikes in your income to boost your savings. It's a great way to jumpstart your savings or round it up to the next, $100 or $1,000 if you can. But plan on it in advance if you can. Have a plan in place if you expect a tax refund, if you're going to get a bonus, or some other type of extra income. Otherwise, it's very easy to spend. I don't know about you. I have children. I have 3 daughters, and they're grown now. But when they were teenagers, even smaller, it's surprising how quickly money goes. One day you have some, the next day you don't. Well, if it's not easily accessible, you're less likely to spend it. So putting that money aside and dedicate that towards your savings helps you get to that goal quicker, right? And setting that clear goal up front will make it easier for you to save that extra money. Now we're talking about saving for the unexpected. And we talked about saving automatically. Tomorrow, we'll talk about saving for major milestones. So there are some very specific goals when we're talking about saving for milestones, whether that be, college, wedding, car, house, retirement. Keeping all of that in mind when you're thinking about saving, but saving for the unexpected, having that emergency fund is really the key to savings goals at the very beginning, before you start saving for anything else. But the biggest secret to successful saving is be consistent. Be consistent. Again, slow and steady. The turtle or the rabbit, you're going to get there. Just be consistent. Also recognize and celebrate your wins. You want to stay motivated. You want to stay focused. But recognize, when you reach that little milestone, but without spending any of your savings, right? Make savings a habit. When it comes to saving, stay disciplined. Avoid that temptation to splurge, but do celebrate. Every time your savings grows, it's a great reason to pat yourself on the back. And taking the America Saves pledge is really helpful because America Saves will help keep you motivated and remind you periodically with texts or emails as you give them permission to do or not. But they'll give you some tips and resources to help keep you on track so that you can meet your savings goals. Then I think that this is true not just with a savings plan. I think anybody who has any kind of a goal, if you write it down, you are much more likely to be successful. And if you share that goal with someone else, even more likely to be successful. So with America Savings, this is it, right? I suspect making that any kind of a plan applies to pretty much everything, not just savings. So with setting a goal to build an emergency fund, deciding how much you want to save each month is key. Like I said, this is where America Saves come in. You go in to make the America Saves pledge, and you don't have to do it through the America Saves pledge. You can just do this yourself. Just make that goal, that commitment, write it down, build that plan where you make a commitment to yourself to save. You can identify whatever reason it is that you're saving for. America Saves, though, helps keep you motivated with information, advice, tips, reminders, whether you're building for the emergency fund, as we're talking about today, or saving for a different type of milestone. It's really encouraging to have that type of a partnership, non-judgmental. There, whether you do it or not, they're just there to help motivate you to meet the goals that you've set for yourself. Okay, on the next slide then. And really, I think this also can be true. This is if you joined us yesterday, this slide may look familiar, but it applies to the topic of saving for the unexpected also. Sometimes the smallest things have the greatest impact. Just building that habit of saving, even if just a little bit at a time. Excuse me, $5 or $10 a month to start, and then increase it as you're able. Going from $5 or $10 a month to $20 or $25 a month to $20 or $25 a pay period. It should be a habit, not a destination. And today we encourage you to do the following if you haven't already. Set up that automatic savings, either through your payroll deductions, your direct deposit, through your bank, your financial institution. If you have online banking or mobile banking, setting up those automatic transfers to that emergency savings fund. Treat it like a bill, which is what I do. Each step to automatically transfer. Actually, these are not necessarily for my emergency funds, but I have savings accounts for each of my grandchildren. So each pay period, I've just got a message that my internet connection is unstable. I have $10 transferred each pay period from my checking account to savings accounts for my grandchildren. Now, $10, $20 a month may not sound like a lot, but hopefully by the time they're 18, it will be a nice little chunk of change, and they'll be something that they'll be happy to get from grandma. But setting up those automatic payments and then periodically reevaluate that. If you are saving, let's say, again, saving that $5 or $10 a month or a pay period, reevaluate that. If you're in a position that you can start saving a little more, then I definitely encourage you to do so, because once you have that emergency fund, that 3 to 6 months worth of expenses covered, now you can start saving for other things, maybe for that car, maybe for that 80-inch television set, whatever your goal is beyond that, now you can start saving beyond the emergency fund. But do assess whether you have the best possible account for your savings. Like I said, do not keep your emergency savings in with the rest of your household account. Keep it away from your checking account that you can easily access with your debit card. Make sure that it's over to a savings account. And then do shop around and determine which account is the most beneficial for you. Okay. And Farmers and Merchants Bank is happy to help you with that. On the next slide. When we talk about the America Saves Pledge, the purpose of our webinars this week is to support the America Saves Week. Although the America Saves program, the initiative, is all year long. April is financial education awareness, the month of. So America Saves, the national initiative, has identified this week particularly to talk about savings. So that's what we are doing with each of our webinars this week. For the America Saves Pledge, it's simply a pledge for you. You're not making any kind of commitment. You're not providing any kind of bank account information, not even your address. It is just you making a commitment to yourself through the America Saves plan. A goal, you identify what you're saving for, such as an emergency fund, a vacation, a large purchase, retirement, debt repayment, education, home ownership. You decide what you want to save for. Then you make a plan. Identify how much you will save each month. For how long? Let's say you want to save $100 a month for 1 year. Okay, that's you. It's entirely up to you. Then America will send you ongoing support, either texts or emails. As you opt in, you decide, and you anytime you want, but they will send texts or emails with tips, resources, motivations, positive reinforcement, encouragement, which sometimes it's a little nice to get. We live kind of in a dark world, so to have somebody positively, even if it kind of giving you a pat on the back, if you've managed, you set a goal and you want to save $25 a month, and for 3 months in a row you've managed to accomplish that. Not that America Saves has any access to your bank account information. It's just you identifying to them that yes, you've done that. Be truthful. And then they can celebrate those wins with you. Or if you're that, they can, try and provide some ongoing support and encouragement. So it's nice to have that. And remember, when you have a goal, or when you make a plan to meet a goal, communicating that goal by making a commitment that you're sharing with someone else to improve the chances of your success in meeting that goal. So America Saves is to be your partner in helping you attain the financial stability through savings. So on the next information on how you can take the America Pledge. Now there is the America Save. You can even just Google America Saves. But in addition to the national America Saves campaign, there are regional campaigns. And in California, there are campaigns in the Inland Empire, Los Angeles, and San Diego. And we invite you to join the LA Saves, the Los Angeles Saves campaign, regardless of your location, simply because that's the closest to us, at least. If you're in the Inland Empire or San Diego, you're welcome to join those also, but we're inviting you to join the LA Saves. So you can see there is a website there. I can copy that over to the box for you. Copy and paste. And then also there's a QR code there, QR code. So if you wanted to use your cell phone to process that QR code, Save's local campaign would be happy to join that today. Oh, internet connection is unstable. And with that, I think we are open to take any questions that you have. If you would like to share any
Yes,
comments,
Cheryl,
any experiences.
we
Yes,
have a
Toby.
few questions from it,
Okay.
them up here as we let our attendees read the remaining schedule we have for this week for our America Saves. The first question, and again, these are great savings questions. What's a good percentage to in?
Well, I think that's a challenge. I think that really boils down to when you're looking at where your capacity is, and what stage of life you're at. If you could save 10%, that would be fabulous. If you can save more than that, of course, it's even better. But I think that if we're starting with a goal, I would encourage you, if you can, to start with 10% of your income as your savings goal.
10% as a baseline for savings.
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Yes.
We have another
Yeah.
attendee question here. This is it better to have multiple savings accounts and then other savings accounts?
Oh, wow. It's interesting. When we do other financial education programming and we're talking about the budgeting, we talk about having the different methodologies. And it's interesting because even in my household, we have different strategies between my three daughters and myself. And there is no one size fits all. Whatever works for you, if it works, I applaud that. For me, I have my primary checking account, I have my primary savings account, and then I have I do have a couple of different accounts, different savings accounts, but they are each for a specific purpose. So I have my Christmas fund. I have kind of my own separate emergency fund, and those are separate from my regular accounts. So for Christmas, I know like we have our Christmas club accounts. I know that I need to put, X amount of dollars each pay period into that account so I have some money to spend at Christmas time to go shopping. So it really depends on you and your needs. I don't advocate having 6 savings accounts just to have 6 savings accounts. I know that for some people, maybe that's a little bit of a mental empowerment purpose, but if it's not really useful, then don't do it. Then you're just spreading yourself out there and it's not meaningful. But if it is for a specific purpose for each of them and you're actually using them for those purposes, then by all means, have as many accounts as you feel you need to meet those particular purpose. That was a good question.
Excellent. Another attendee asks, don't savings accounts penalize you for taking out funds too soon? Is that truly the best option for an emergency fund?
Well, it depends on the type of savings. So there are a lot of different types of saving instruments, whether it's a passbook savings account or a certificate of deposit. For a passbook savings account, each bank may have its own rules that you're only allowed so many withdrawals per period, and usually those run by calendar quarters. If you exceed that, then there is a fee for that. Then on a certificate of deposit, usually you commit to leaving the funds on deposit for a certain period of time. Or 6 months or 1 year or 3 years or 5 years. once you make that commitment with that deposit account, with that certificate of deposit, if you withdraw before the maturity date, yes, you will pay a penalty. And that penalty will depend on the length of term of the certificate of deposit. You might forfeit 30 days worth of interest. But if you've had it in there for 6 months and it pays a much better rate than a savings account, even if you have to withdraw that and lose 30 days worth of interest, you might still have earned more interest in that certificate of deposit than you would have earned in a savings account. I hope you can visualize that. It's a little bit of a timeline thing.
Right.
Yeah.
We have actually another great question here, Cheryl. And I'm
Yes.
hoping actually to piggyback on this, being a father of 3 boys. This
Yeah.
attendee asks, I max out Lilly contributions to 401k, put aside money into kids 529, personal savings and investments, but it feels like there's never enough with the rising cost of healthcare and college. And here's the soothsayer
Oh,
question for you. How do I stop worrying about not saving enough?
I wish I could give you an answer to that. I really do. And congratulations. I mean, absolutely congratulations on being able to max out your 401k contributions. You're already ahead of the game. You've got the 401k, you've got the 529 savings for higher education costs and other investments. It can be, I don't know when enough is enough, if there is such a thing. I think really it just depends on your own personal circumstances and what your goals are. Um, I don't know that I would ever get to a point where I worry or where I stop worrying about whether or not I have enough saved. I don't feel that I do. Um, and I mean, for me, I don't know, would I need therapy or I think everybody has their own thresholds in what they're saving for. And when you get to the point of having that level of comfort, um, particularly with the rising cost of healthcare and college. So if you do have children and you have your 529 account, you've got these other savings accounts that are set aside for purposes for your children, maybe not even just for college, but you want to be able to help your kids buy a home because, certainly in California, the cost of housing is obscene. And for our children to be able to purchase a home without assistance, it seems less and less likely. So I'm not sure, and then as we age, the cost of healthcare is again absurd. Um, fingers crossed that we'll, make our way through those storms of life, but I don't know that I could ever stop worrying about not saving enough. I really appreciate that question. But like I said, I really do congratulate, your maxing out your contributions to the 401k and adding money to a 529 for your children. Congratulations. That does put you ahead of the game for many, many people.
Cheryl, since we're wrapping up the hour here, we have time for one last question, and we'll end on this question. Is there a free resource to help map out a spreadsheet on budgeting and savings?
Oh, yes, I did. I included those in the webinar chat. There are a couple of links. Excuse me, one is to the America Saves Resource Center, and another is, I believe that's to the Federal Trade Commission's website. Some worksheets to making a budget. And these are actual forms that you can kind of fill in. And some of them, I mean, it's great as a starting point for us to use, but bear in mind, everybody's situation is, again, going to be different. So when at least these give you some guidance on things to consider when you're looking at putting together that spending and savings plan, also known as a budget. and how to kind of give that some thought in the analysis of things to consider when you're putting together that budget. So yes,
Excellent.
there are lots of resources available.
Thank you. And again, just to reiterate for everyone listening, please go ahead and go to the webinar chat where you can see those resources that Cheryl was referring to, and some worksheets there as well to help get you on your way to saving. Cheryl, I do want to thank you so much again for lending your expertise on this topic. We will talk to you tomorrow when we talk about saving for major milestones. And all of us at F&M Bank want to thank all the attendees listening today for joining us this morning for this session. And we hope to see you at the next 3. Thank you again. And thank you, Cheryl. We hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.